sato ma sadgamaya tamasho ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma mritangamaya avirāvir maidhi rudro jatte dakshinang mukham te namang pahi nityam om shanti shanti shanti. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light and illumination. Lead us from death to immortality. And evermore shine in our hearts with your resplendent face. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all. So today our topic is Shiva, Lord Shiva, the Yogi Shiva. Shiva is one of the ancient god worshipped from the early days of Indian Vedic culture. That time the name was not Shiva though, it was called Rudra. That's why this prayer, when you say, O Rudra, show your that resplendent face. You have two faces. Rudra means one who cries or he makes other cry. But Rudra is not Rudra, actually not for any bad purpose. But he makes us cry to give us eternal freedom and liberation. So jatte dakshinang mukham, you have a potential face hidden there, which is dakshinna, which is compassion, which is holiness, which is purity, which is redemption. Protect me, tena mang pahi. You protect me with that power. Because I cannot face the terrible aspect of it. And this terrible aspect, when you call God Shiva, Shiva is such a god, it plays in dual role. One side he destroys, another side he is the most loving, compassionate. These two characteristics of the divine has been manifested in the nature of Shiva. That's why we pray in the Vedic, even our everyday prayer, Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. It is a prayer to Lord Shiva in that way, if we can add to that, O Rudra, O that reality of what you call, which creates this type of disturbance in our egotistic life. You shatter the egos and destroy other types of human weaknesses and passions. So, that is the destruction. And by that destructing that, you lead us to the eternal freedom. That's why it's called you have a hidden face which is dakshinna. Dakshinna means karuna, compassion, blessings, benediction. That aspect is there. So reveal unto me that aspect. That's why we, in Swami Vivekananda said, all love the sweet face of life. Who have the courage to face the brutal side of it, the negative side. Dangers, difficulties, disease, whatever comes, to face it, challenge. So that way we are weak. We are weak in our abilities. But here is a prayer. You have another face. I cannot take it. It is my limitation. So help me by revealing your that compassionate face, that loving face, that protecting face, which will take me away from all my sufferings and miseries and dualities and ignorance. So Shiva is a unique God in Hindu idea. And there is a beautiful song written by Girish Ghosh about Lord Shiva. And there he has presented Shiva as the absolute God who is connected with the infinite and absorbed in deep samadhi. That is the Mahayogi, great yogi. Yeah? Yoga shani mahadhani magno yogi varo mahayogasani. In the asana, it's a seat, in the seat of yoga. Yoga means union. Union with what? Not with the world, but that reality which is eternal. Shiva is in that asana, in that seat. He is absorbed in union with that own self. Magno, merged, dissolved, totally lost. That is the Yogi Vara, the great, great yogi, the king among the yogis. That is Shiva. What is like that? Ananta tu share jano ananta shekharo yogashani mahadhani. Beautiful idea. Ananta tushar, limitless, infinite, pure, like snow white. That purity, that Satchidananda self, that infinite ocean of our limitless space, like that snow white reality. And it is, you are the peak of that reality. As if you can imagine the Himalayan range and you see the highest peak, Everest. All snow around, nothing but whiteness, clarity, purity, joy, blessings, benediction. That is Shiva. That it is all pervaded. There is no touch of any blemish. There is no touch of any worldliness. Stainless. Shiva is all auspicious. Shiva is all stainless. To reach, to take us into that level of profound truth of our very reality. When we find some destructive activity goes on, meaning destruction of our ego, destruction of our attachment, destruction of our holding on to the lower things of life, and Shiva comes and dances, Shiva dance, and trembles, the earth trembles, to destroy that and recreate that spirituality which is our innate potentiality. And what he says, it is the Lord, she is the Lord of destruction. As I said, but mind it, destruction of what? Which we want to cling on. He destroys that. Because he knows that whatever we cling on, that is holding on to something unreal. That cannot give us that eternal bliss, which is Shiva nature in us. That stainless, pure, snow white, divine self. To lead us to that level of purity, destroys our evil tendencies, destroys our negativities, destroys our meanness, unkindness, the lower self in which we live, and we get attached to that and we hold on to that, and Shiva comes like a shattering that and destroying that immediately, and the inner truth getting revealed. That's why he says, Pralayo nirava majhe ekaki purusha raje. What a beautiful idea. Pralayo, when the total destruction happens. What happens? When total destruction of my personality will happen. What will happen? There will reign what? That alone, that eternal self, ekaki, alone, only one, absolute, that Purusha, that consciousness in the form of Shiva. You can call Shiva or you can call yourself. That Viraje, that reigns there, only that reality in the middle of the distraction. So distraction of this world, when it goes, what happens? It is not zero. In that midst of that eternal distraction, there reigns only that one alone, that Purusha, who Pure Sete Iti, who resides in the heart of all, that hidden divinity, that alone reigns, and that Shiva reigns alone. And in that state, even the fire god, Bhaye Ogni Bhasmo Saje Dhake Kale Baro. There, even the sun and moon and the stars, they are light. They hide in shame, like bhasma, like the fire is hidden by the ashes. So this glory of the sun, moon, stars, etc., all dissolve, and it becomes like that. It is only that glory. In that glory, Shiva remains when the total destruction happens. And there is no so-called moon and its beautiful aura is not there. It is andhakar, it is darkness, it is formless, nirakar. There is no form. There is darkness alone. What is that darkness? Darkness about the reality in which we live. This reality has no place there. That's why it is dark. This is dark. And the reality of the divine, which is ourself, that remains there. And in that state, Eknai. You cannot say there is one. Who will say one? There Eknai, Duyar, and you consider the duality. And the entire nature stands still in that distraction. See, this is the beauty of the distraction of Shiva. What does it mean? If it comes to individual life, this distraction means that destroying in that silence, deep silence of that distraction, there remains that one alone, that conscious entity, that Satchidananda self, that Purusha who hides in the heart of all of us even now. We do not know the distraction of which we are clinging on and holding on. It goes out. Then what remains? That truth remains. And there is in the deep darkness, what can be there? We cannot say there is anything. You cannot say there is two. You cannot say there is one. Who will say it is one if that is only one reality? So that is Shiva nature. And in that point, Girish Chandra wrote, Kalo Baddha Bhartamane Bomakesho Bomapane. The time, at that point, imagine that clicking of the clock. The time has stopped. So where is time? So long we live in duality, there is time. Time 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, because we were in one consciousness at 10 o'clock, now it is 11 o'clock. Time remains for me in the duality. When you go to deep sleep, where is your time? That is our regular experience. And suppose now you go to the transcendental state. Where is two? What is the question of one even? There is no question of one. What is the question of two? And in that point, there is Kala Baddha, as if the time has stopped there. No clicking. That means you remain in a state where, that's why we call it is timeless, spaceless. Desha Kala Nimitta Otita. Beyond time, beyond space, beyond causation. And that is the state. In that when destruction happens, and Shiva helps us to destroy our other tendencies. And then Kala Baddha, the time becomes stopped there. And eternal silence, eternal joy. Bhuma Kesha Bhuma Pane. It is in the infinite space. It is only that reality. And that is filled with Nitya Satya Purna Gyani Purna Maheshwara Jogashani Mahadhani Magno Yogi Baro. That is the state when Mahayogi, Mahashiva is just stepped into his own meditation, deep meditation, where it is filled with Nitya Satya, Purna. It is filled with whole universe, or whatever concept of reality there. It is filled with Nitya, eternal, Satya, the truth. Saturated in that eternal truth. And in the fullest of knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge of that ultimate reality. And that is Lord Shiva. He is residing in his own self, alone, and in that majesty, where time clicking stops, where silence, in the hushed silence of the divine consciousness, of the divine joy. That is the Shiva. So this is a beautiful idea, how to think about Shiva. That's why Shiva is God of all. Shiva is mostly worshipped by the monks. He is the perfection, is a perfected form of absolute detachment, absolute renunciation. He is so pure that no impurity can touch there. It is the story Kamadeva. He came to he is Samadhi, he is in Samadhi. And to bring his mind down to the world, for the good of the world, the gods made a plan to send the god of lust. And the gods have different departments. So they, when they fall in trouble, they make a meeting, as we sometimes sit for our board meeting and things like that. So, and then they thought, this is the problem what to be solved. The Shiva is now merged into Samadhi. Bring the mind down, unless Shiva comes, who will solve the problem? So poor guy, the god of lust has been given to do the duty, and he tried to pull the mind down, and Shiva was in this state. So where time has stopped. He was absorbed in the truth, absolute, where there is all duality vanished. And in that silence, even the sun, moon's glory does not shine at all. In that state, and he wanted to bring his mind down. And when it opened the eyes and just glanced, and the god of lust died, burned to ashes. That's why it is called lust has no form. It's not a concrete form. It remains in the heart of all, but you cannot catch him. So that is the story behind it. That is the one way of thinking how the power of Lord Shiva. That means what it indicates, we have to learn this, that Shiva stands for absolute purity, absolute joy, and absolute truthfulness, absolute timeless state. That is the symbol of Brahman. That's why, but this practice is to be, that's why Shiva has been practiced by the monks, monastics for ages together. If you go to the high Himalayas, the one god is worshipped everywhere. Mostly you will find that it is Shiva. That's why Shiva mantras, are so many Shiva mantras, so many Shiva temples. You go to Vishwanath, Benares, no? It's called the abode of Shiva. Shiva's glory is so much sung because he is destroying, but he destroys, but he does for our spiritual development and growth. And he does what he does. He takes away all our negativities. What a great compassionate God. That's why He is called compassionate. And Ramakrishna saw that it is not a myth. Shiva is not a myth. Yes, it is a myth. You can find that in the historic study we can say that Shiva was not in the historic Shiva was not in the Vedic time. He was called the Rudra, another name. And that Rudra took gradual reformation into the Shiva we worship now. And in time it has happened like that. But that Shiva is what? Is all auspiciousness. Shiva is taking away or destroying those things which are hindrance to our spiritual journey. In the worship you see Shiva, and that it, as I said, that it is not a myth. For us is myth. For us is a symbol. That's why it is called the phallic symbol. Some people think that Shiva is a symbol of sensuality or sexuality or the sign of the... But it is the symbol of creation from which this whole universe has come out. It is called the shaft of light. Brahma, there is a story, Brahma and Vishnu, they got into the fight, and then they're in such a fight, who will stop that fight? So Shiva appeared between them like a shaft of light. And then Vishnu tried to find out where is the beginning of that light, let me try, go down. And another tried to find where it ends. Both went both direction and found that there is no endless. So that's the eternal light, luminous light, that is Shiva. That is the story of what is called the symbology of worshipping Lord Shiva. But Shiva is that reality who redeems us, takes us away from our bondage. Remember the story of Sri Ramakrishna in the boat in the Benares, and in that cremation ground, and he was standing in the boat and he saw the dead body is going to be cremated, and he found that the mother Annapurna appeared and she untied the bonds, the bondage. They work together. Where is Shiva, there is Shakti. That's another philosophy. But it is not our focus today. But still, Shiva and Shakti, they jointly took. Where is Shiva, there is Shakti. That's why in the symbol of Shiva you find that is the symbol of the male and the female organs. That is symbolic of the cosmic creation. It is said that from that creation, billions and trillions of stars and galaxies are coming out. And that is dissolving into the void. So that is Shiva. That is the symbol of Shiva. That therefore it is a great idea to redeem even the creation. After creation, he again takes back. That is the glory of Shiva. Then we find that Sri Ramakrishna saw. Then Shiva appeared. And Shiva whispered the mantra in the ear of that departed. And he found, Ramakrishna said, the soul got freedom and got liberated total. So this is the compassion of Shiva. It is that is redeeming everyone, not considering who is what. That's why the story goes for Shiva, no? Shiva is called very sweet God because you can please him very sweetly, very easily, without much effort. Other gods and goddesses may have, you have to bring this flower and put this mantra and do this way. If you don't do, then you get the curse. But for Shiva worship, you don't need anything. Your simple heart, pour some water and bring some leaf and pour it. And Shiva will say, oh my God, a good bhakta has come. He loves me so much. He's putting this water upon my head. No? So this is the easily Ashutosha. That's why his name is given. Shiva's name is called Ashu. Ashu means quickly. Tosha means satisfied. There are other gods, you cannot satisfy them easily. You have to do more austerity, more things, this dedication, that dedication, no? But for Shiva is so kind, so gracious, that quickly takes our problems off with little one-pointed service. So that's all Ashutosha. So this Shiva is the only for the redemption that is to be understood. And in the Vedic time, it was considered to be Rudra. You see, when he is angry, he destroys all the animalistic tendencies. No, he destroys, and that destroys with thunderbolt, brings disease, suffering, pain, all these things he brings. But though it is a destruction in a negative way, but it is the destruction of our wonderful meanness and unkindness to make us who we are. When praised, this Shiva protects everyone from danger, removes disease, is the best physician to remove the worldly maladies. But at the same time, Rudra is vision, is a very terrible, and at the same time auspicious. Two things together, that is the uniqueness. And this Shiva does with Damaru, with the beating of the drum, with the sound. And also he plays the bugle, or horn. Swami Vivekananda once said that you want to be sophisticated in religion, but Shiva will be here all the time, and Shiva's bull will be all the time there. How much you try to sophisticate it, this Shiva will remain forever, and his bull will remain and roam around in the street. No. So Shiva has his presence all the time, and his sounding the horn and the drum to destroy the creation, and comes again. It is again the name and form comes, Shiva and the Sankara, they appear in that way. And he is one of the greatest god mentioned as the prime deity of the Ramayana. Sri Ramakrishna, story about Shiva. You remember when he was in Dakshineshwar one day, and he climbed on in a divine mood, he went and embraced the Lord Shiva's image, stone, and embraced and just sat over the Gauri Patta. And naturally, the other priests were very unhappy, and they wanted to make a hue and cry. But how it happened? Sri Ramakrishna, seeing the Shiva, just remembered that verse, Ashita Girishamam Shat Kajjalang Sindhu Patre Surabharaturu Lekha Lekhani Patra Murvi Likhati Yadi Sharada Gritva Sarvakalam Tadapi Tava Mahimanam Parang Nijane. So Sri Ramakrishna, seeing the symbol of Shiva, symbolic, and his mind, we are talking about this yoga asana, that song I sang, the idea of Shiva. He instantly, seeing Lord Shiva, his mind soared into that level, and from the Pushpadantas, this composition, Sri Ramakrishna chanted this verse, Ashita Girishamam. If your glory is limitless glory, O Shiva, who can describe your glory? It is like if one Mother Saraswati herself tries to describe your glory and beauty, and tries to write herself that praise. But what will be the pain? Ordinary pen will, how long you can write? Its tip will be lost. Ink will be finished. So you take an ink pot. Ink pot is the ocean. And ocean water is the tablet, ink tablet to put into the ink pot. No? And that what is the tablet? It should be the infinite snow-capped mountains putting together. And the pen should be the immortal tree of the heaven, Parijata tree. And Mother Saraswati now starts writing. This small paper will be too insufficient to say anything. Suppose, think of the imagination is unique. Think of the whole surface of the earth like a paper. And Mother Saraswati starts writing from one end and continues. She will not be able to finish her writing the glory of Lord Shiva. So this is very ecstatic feeling. And with that, chanting that mantra, he went into samadhi. And that's Shiva is a living entity. We find that Shiva is a living entity manifested in Ramakrishna's life. Again, Ramakrishna in the Dakshineshwar, you remember that story. He is moving back and forth. And the landlord, Mathur, he was sitting in his parlor doing some official business. Suddenly looked at that distance, oh, Sri Ramakrishna is walking. And suddenly he found it is not Ramakrishna. One way it is going at Lord Shiva. Other way is coming the Mother Kali. Again Shiva, again Kali. 2-3 times he saw. That is the Lord Shiva and Mother are one. Shakti and Shiva you have talked about. And that is for the good of humanity has incarnated as Ramakrishna. Ancient story. We think these are myths. Yes, for us it is myth because we have no connection and we have no understanding about those faith, belief system. But when it comes to the modern time, before the most intelligent people of that modern age, we find that there is a living example. How is Shiva? Look at Ramakrishna's life. Parallelly you can find it is Lord Shiva functioning. Stainless, pure. No blemish can touch Shiva. No blemish can touch Ramakrishna. Even a touch of coin can create reaction. Do you understand Shiva nature? How will be that? Of course we make Shiva also a householder. He has a wife and he has his son and daughter and this and that. That is done to bring that infinite God closer to us so that we can channelize our spiritual practice through them. But think of the purity aspect of Shiva and think of the purity aspect of Sri Ramakrishna. Perfectly pure, perfectly stainless, and there is nothing but the good of humanity. Whatever is done, only how it will bring auspiciousness to all. That is the Shiva nature. And that Shiva is always engaged in the thinking about the goodness, thinking about the sufferings of others. That's why Jiva Dukkha Asahishnum. Sri Ramakrishna has been said, he is Asahisnu. He is intolerable. We are intolerable in many things. But Ramakrishna is intolerable where? Jiva Dukkha. Where there is suffering of anyone in the world, there he is intolerable. He cannot keep himself arrested in his own self mood of joy and his own living. He goes out of the way to redeem. And that's why he brought, even you find that Sri Ramakrishna brought Vivekananda to not to do his work through another instrument he needed. The same spirit of redemption of the world. The holiness, how that our senses can come back to our own reality. That is the living Shiva, is this Ramakrishna. And there we find the characteristic as we have described. Samadhi, Ramakrishna going to Samadhi. In that utmost purity, spending days and time, 6 months he went into Samadhi. And that energy which is generated, that's why Swami Vivekananda said, it will do good to the world. No? Sri Ramakrishna said, when he transferring his last breath, at the giving up his life in the Kashipur garden house, one day called Naren and said, shut the door. And the door was shut, and he touched him, and Naren went into Samadhi, deep Samadhi. And when he came back and he saw that Ramakrishna's tears are flowing, and Ramakrishna, very like innocent child, said, Naren, what have I gathered? I have transferred everything to you. I have entered into you. You will do good to the world. Vivekananda remained Shiva, born of Shiva nature again, just to continue the mission what Sri Ramakrishna started. It is not a social club he started, but he started going back to the Shiva nature and tuning his own personality into that Shiva Samadhi nature, channelize that energy for the good of humanity, so that it continues the same redemption, which is the main purpose of the coming of the incarnations. And we find that whenever any incarnation comes, they normally come from Shiva nature, a Vishnu nature, you call. That's why in human personalities like us, someone say, he is a bhakta and he is a jnani. We say he is born out of the more of the Shiva nature or the Vishnu nature. Vishnu nature, they become little devotional. Shiva nature, analytical, critical, and they try to understand logically the highest truth. So this is that we are talking about Shiva, that pure state we have to go back. That is the Shiva is meditated in our day-to-day life. That meditation should be brought into our life. And he is to be thought that he is to be achieved only by detachment. Shiva himself, as he showed, that life is to be lived, but at the same time it should be to be detached life. But how is that point? That is the leading that meditative life, following the Shiva's own process, living in life, but how to get separated from this world in which we live, to do our things, but to meditate on Shiva and pray. Rudra jatte dakshinang mukham tena mang pahi nityam. Oh Rudra, oh Shiva, I cannot bear your very rough and violent form, but show me, you have a sweet face also. Please show me that sweet face, that loving face through which I can reach you easily. So that's a constant prayer, constant meditation not on the negative aspect, but on the positive aspect of Shiva. And that is the only thinking that he is the redeemer of all sufferings and misery. And thinking of him as a transcendental truth, but also as a mythical, spiritual personality, as Shiva nature. That's why most of the Shiva bhaktas mantras are very simple. Om Namah Shivaya. Very simple. And just Shivaya Namah, Om Namah Shivaya, just chant the Om Namah Shivaya. And think, who is Shiva? Shiva is that transcendental truth, reality, which is pure and perfect and beyond time, space, causation. But at the same time, as a symbolic representation of that, I worship him for my own spiritual growth and development and to face the challenges of life. So this idea is to be taken, and even in our life when something challenging comes, if we can think, that it is Shiva coming in our life. And he said, and this is to destroy my other negativities. It is coming in this form to bring out what is that purity and that divinity which is being obscured. He is coming to just remove that. So we always like to see the happy side of it. But life does not show that. Rather, there are more miseries, more suffering, more negativities, more tensions, anxieties, worries. How these are the negative side. And this side is there in us, but it is to be destroyed unless those are cleaned, those are off from our character, that Shiva will not reveal. So Shiva to be manifested in our life by meditating as the infinite aspect, also Saguna aspect, Nirguna aspect. That's why Shiva is worshipped in Saguna aspect and Nirguna aspect. Our spiritual sadhana also comes into picture. Saguna aspect, you go to the worship of Shiva Linga, and people are doing, you go to Rudra, Abhishekam, this, that going on in the Hindu temples, pouring milk and worship is going on, Saguna Brahma. But you can think of Shiva as the Nirguna Brahma, that which is the Vedantic principle teaches us, that principle, that way to think about Shiva, and that Shiva is everywhere. It is said that Shiva Jnane Jiva Shiva, Ramakrishna's message, no? In this age. He's bringing Shiva to see in the Jiva. We only see the Jiva, individual. And individual means it is all imperfections. And there is the struggle for us to bring our awareness into that Shiva nature. But our practice in this is Shiva Jnane Jiva Shiva. With the Shiva ideal, make it practical in day-to-day life. From morning till night, whatever we are serving anyone. It is the Jiva. But no, it is not the Jiva. It is the Shiva. I didn't understand it. It is Shiva. But I understand, I look at it as Jiva. So that is the way Swami Vivekananda said, he who sees the divine in the temple, or God, Shiva in the temple, his sadhana, his practice is limited. He who brings Shiva in the world of action, his sadhana, his practice is much deeper. So here Saguna Brahman can be worshipped with Shiva puja, Shiva chanting, Shiva mantra, Shiva this. People are doing that. But it should be linked further to bring it into practical Shiva worship. Practical Shiva worship is that to see Shiva and to serve and to work and to interact. We are all interacting from morning till night with what? With somebody, some person, some environment. But it is nothing but Shiva in another form. So that awareness should be brought into our daily practice. That is the Saguna type of practice. And Saguna, or you can say it is bending towards Nirguna, Saguna to Nirguna. And this practice, that's why in Vedantic term we can say it is called the practical Vedanta. So worshipping Shiva in the form of symbols, Shiva Linga, chanting Namah Shivaya, pouring water, bathing Shiva, that's in the temple. To bring that temple worship into our practical life, to serve everyone with the concept of offering to Lord Shiva himself, and going deeper into that, absorption will come in life when one will be totally much growing towards the Saguna to Nirguna automatically. Because if one practices trying to Shiva here, Shiva there, Shiva there, Shiva there, that Shiva is expanding. It is not limited in a particular one image or one symbol. That Shiva then spreads everywhere. And then it expands in the trees, in the plants, and everywhere. And ultimately, Shivamaya. The world is full of Shiva. There is nothing but Shiva and Shiva. Shivamaya Vishwa. There are beautiful songs about Shiva like that. That it is, that he is just wearing a dress of a monk's dress, smearing the ashes, like a monk's, they smear their body with ashes. Why? Because they have not such money to purchase good clothing. So when they remain in the Himalayas, they only put some ashes in their body. And Shiva put the ashes in his body, and he roams in the cremation ground. Look at that. Cremation ground is the ground where we are dead. What is dead? This way we live in our life, that is dead. What is that? That sadhana starts there, Lord Shiva worship starts there, in the cremation ground. Why? That cremation means the cremation of this duality, cremation of this diversity. And then when it stops in the deep darkness, there shines a light. That's why Shiva is the uncreate principle also. In Vedantic term, you see Shiva and Shakti. When you see the Shiva, Shiva is lying flat. That's why he is the symbol of absolute non-duality. But Shiva Shakti comes up, and that is called the mother, stands on the chest. And she is the ruling personality in the whole creation aspect. So same Shiva manifesting that way, to go back from the mother to Shiva. See, just imagine a symbol. Shiva is lying flat, and Shiva's image is stone image. Even if you find it is white, snow white. Normally it is called the Shiva, Shava Shiva. Shava Shiva means Shiva is like Shava. Shava means who is dead. So Shiva is dead-like. Dead-like means he is absorbed in samadhi. For him, creation is not possible. But he works through that Shakti, that's why the Shakti comes up. And this mother creates. In another language we call it is Shiva's power, Shiva Shakti. And Shiva's power is the mother divine. And she is the creator, and she creates and nurtures and destroys. But now you want to go back to home. How to go back? You go to Ma, and then go down and merge into the Shiva. So going out from here is the creation in which we live. And to go back to ourselves, into the Shiva nature, the Shiva is the snow white reality at the feet of the Divine Mother. So this is a great practice. These are all high Vedantic practices hidden, given into the stories and these images. Normally many people will not be able to understand why this. Why mother is standing on the Shiva's chest. What type of worship Hindus are doing here? A husband lying down and the wife standing on the chest and like that with the tongue touched. And all this different symbology, all little difficult to understand. But if we understand this philosophy, that it is the all absolute Satchidananda aspect, which is the Shiva aspect, there is no time, there is no space, there is no causation. But to create this creation comes through that way. And destruction, again you see, mother is holding sword and cutting the chops of heads of the children and this and that. What type of this going on? Yes, coming back to the self. Creation and destruction. No, Sri Ramakrishna had the vision. You remember that vision, Sri Ramakrishna's vision? One day Sri Ramakrishna was standing on the near Panchavati, the Dakshineshwar ground, and suddenly in a mystic vision he saw that one lady came out of the Ganga, holy Ganga, and she's a beautiful looking lady, and she gave a birth to a baby, and then with so much love and affection and care, nurturing and taking care of that, and ultimately she's swallowing the baby in herself. The whole symbology of creations, maintenance and destruction, the three aspects of this creation has been depicted there. So it is, we are coming out of that and we have to go back to that. And Shiva and Shakti, they worship. That's why Shiva Shakti is worship in the symbology of the Shiva worship. The shaft person is there and the other person, the female organ is represented. It is not, people think it very shallow way, but it's a deep way if we think that entire theory of creation has been symbolized there. And to go back to that, we'll have to go through the same process to bring Shiva awareness in our life. So, Shiva, Shiva, Shiva. To think Shiva, 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 Shiva here, Shiva, Shiva, Shiva here. There is one Swami. He was Atulananda Swami. He was Hoblong. He was in Holland Swami. So he was in Turiyananda Swami's very much fan of Turiyananda Swami and lived last part in India, and he passed away there near Kishanpur, up above Kishanpur. Barloganj is the name of the place, Barloganj. And he, in his old age, he was very much weak in his body, and he has some cancer developed. But he was considered a very highly spiritual personality. So he used to take a jar of water, small, because his health is not strong. So he'd take a small, tiny water container and go to the tree, one plant, and she will pour water. Shiva, 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 Shiva. And then he goes to another plant. Shiva, 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 Shiva. In his eyes there is nothing but Shiva. Could you imagine? I am talking about theory. Look at the practical side. How life can be made full of auspiciousness, full of Shiva. Not only in human. You are watering the plant and he is saying, Shiva, 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 Shiva. Shiva, 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 Shiva. There is another story. He said that there was because it was there are mountains around, so there is a church. And the church will, as 15 minutes or something, then a ding dong, it goes on. Every few minutes, every 15 minutes. So he has his heart problem very bad. So doctor suggested that you are here, Swami, it is not good, you should go down to the plains. And this sound, all the 15 minutes, every 15 minutes hitting like that, and you are sensitive, it is affecting your heart. Then he said, what? I don't feel any problem for that. I feel everything. It's a wonderful thing. Ding dong. I see Rama, Krishna. My God, every moment I am reminded of Rama, Krishna. See how religion has become practical, how Shiva worship has become practical. So you should have to cultivate this type of idea, not only theoretically knowing about Shiva and giving lecture about Shiva, but to practice in this way that I am worshipping Shiva throughout whatever, till morning, till now, whatever I did Shiva worship. In your meditation, you did Shiva worship. In your making a breakfast for somebody, you did Shiva worship. Giving a glass of water you have done, it's a Shiva worship. So bring that Shiva awareness, and then that Yogi, Mahayogi Shiva, who is absolutely pure and stainless, will reveal in our hearts. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Shantu Niramayaha, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Sarvastaratu Durgani, Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu, Sarvas Sadbuddhimapnotu, Sarvas Sarvatra Nandatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery, may all be freed from dangers, may all realize what is noble and good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.